Your team is winning, the stadium is loud, and you're one of the most feared athletes on the field. Then one fan says the wrong thing, you snap for a second, and suddenly the headline isn't the score, it's you. That's DK Metcalf right now. Here, what happened, short and straight. During Pittsburgh's 29-24 win on Sunday, Metcalf got into a physical confrontation with a Detroit Lions fan in the first half. He appeared to throw a punch. The NFL labeled it conduct detrimental and handed him a 2-game suspension. With the calendar where it is, that means he's set to miss the rest of the regular season, and he's projected to forfeit more than $555,000 in salary. Now, the part that makes this situation career-shaking isn't the 2 games. It's the contract language that turns one moment into a financial earthquake. Metcalf signed a 4-year, $132 million deal in March, and the article explains that the contract includes a clause that if he fails to practice or play with the club for any reason, including a player's suspension by the NFL or club for conduct detrimental, then his guarantees will be null and void. That's not symbolic language. That's the kind of clause that makes a player's future feel stable one day and suddenly negotiable the next. The report says this suspension now voids at least $45 million in future guaranteed money. And yes, it notes he could still earn that money over the next 2 years, but could earn and guaranteed are 2 different universes. Guaranteed means protected even when life gets messy. Once it's voided, the money becomes conditional, and the team holds more power over the timeline, the structure, and the escape hatch. Metcalf is planning to appeal, and the appeal will be heard by Commissioner Roger Goodell or a designee. But here's the brutal detail from the article. Even if the suspension drops to 1 game, the guarantee is still automatically void, because the trigger is the suspension itself, not the length. So the appeal might help his availability in optics, but it won't restore the contract safety net that was built into the deal. So is his career over? No, but I'm not going to play soft with you either. This is a career pivot point, because it attacks the thing teams, coaches, and sponsors care about most: trust. On pure talent, DK Metcalf is still an elite weapon. The NFL doesn't just throw away rare size and speed receivers. And the Steelers didn't make a small move to get him. The article notes they sent Seattle a 2nd-round pick. That investment matters. It's also why the report says it's extremely unlikely Pittsburgh would part ways with him before the 2026 season. That's the business reality of the league. Stars usually get more rope, especially when draft capital is involved. But here's my honest opinion, based on the facts in this report and on how front offices operate. Even if his job is safe, his label has changed. In one afternoon, he shifted from franchise piece to risk that needs managing. And that label is sticky, not because people hate him, because organizations hate uncertainty. Think about the analytics of leverage. Guaranteed money is a player's armor. It forces commitment. It also influences how a coach treats you, how patient a team is through slumps, and how strongly a front office resists outside noise. When guarantees are voided, the team gains flexibility. They can still keep you, pay you, and feature you. But they also get a cleaner exit path if anything goes sideways. Production dips, chemistry cracks, another incident happens, or they simply want to reallocate cap space. DK didn't just lose 2 games. He potentially handed the Steelers a stronger negotiating position for the rest of this contract. And the timing makes it worse. This happened in the first half of a game Pittsburgh eventually won. That matters. This wasn't a heartbreak loss where emotion spills over after a final whistle. This happened while the mission was still on track. It tells decision makers the issue was the moment. It was impulse control. In a league built on discipline and routine, impulse is the one thing you cannot afford. Because when you're celebrating a win, fans expect you to act like a pro on camera. A victory is meant to calm you, not ignite you. If you lose control while you're ahead, critics will ask what happens when you're behind. The article also adds a detail that turns this from one bad interaction into something that looks deeper. Metcalf reportedly had prior history with that same fan back when he was with the Seattle Seahawks. If that's true, it suggests this wasn't completely random. And if something can follow you across years and teams, then the conversation shifts from that fan crossed a line to how do you handle triggers when you're on camera and you're wearing the shield. Now I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. This kind of incident doesn't end careers, but it can shrink careers. Not in games played, but in how high you're allowed to climb. Because once teams feel they have to manage you, you lose some freedom. You get fewer chances. You get fewer unconditional guarantees next time. And you get more clauses, more protections, more language that says, we love your talent, but we don't fully trust the chaos. So how does DK overcome this? He has to treat it like the most expensive lesson he's ever paid for, because financially it might be. First, accountability. Not a long speech, not a victim story. A simple, I was wrong, I put my team at risk, it won't happen again. Second, control. From this point on, fan interaction is not a debate. You walk away, you let security handle it, you let teammates pull you back, you make it boring. Third, consistency. Not one clean week, not one clean month. A long stretch of professional behavior that proves this was an exception, not a habit. That includes practicing better situational awareness on the sideline and working with team staff for how he exits situations before they escalate. And fans, especially younger fans, should see it with a clear lens. Don't defend the punch like it's passion. Passion is playing hard. Passion is blocking in the run game. Passion is coming back on third and long. Putting hands on a fan is losing control, and it puts your team in a mess. At the same time, don't act like he's permanently finished as a person. This is an athlete making a costly mistake, and the mature response is support the comeback, demand professionalism, and stop rewarding chaos with applause. Now let's talk contract and salary, because this is the part that will shape the next chapter of his career more than any tweet. The report says at least $45 million in future guaranteed money is now voided. That's not he lost $45 million today. It means money that was locked in protection is no longer locked. The team can still pay it, but the obligation is weakened. If the relationship stays strong, Pittsburgh might never use that leverage. But the leverage exists, and that changes everything from renegotiations to roster planning. Then there's the biggest single number in the article. His 2026 salary of $25 million was previously fully guaranteed. The report says if he's suspended at least one game, that guarantee will void. That is massive. A fully guaranteed salary is the closest thing to certainty in the NFL. Once that label disappears, your future becomes more dependent on staying in good standing, staying productive, and staying worth it in the eyes of the people who control the cap sheet. It can also affect how you're treated in future talks, because teams will point to this moment and say, we need protection. So here's my verdict, blunt and honest. DK Metcalf's career is not over. He's too talented, and the Steelers have too much invested to treat this like a goodbye. But the comfortable superstar phase of his career might be over, the phase where mistakes don't truly threaten your security. From here on, his margin for error is razor thin. If he locks in, grows up fast, and keeps everything clean, this becomes a turning point story, the moment he matured. If he slips again, the same contract that once protected him could become the reason his situation gets uncomfortable fast. This isn't a movie ending, it's a warning label. And whether DK becomes the comeback story or the cautionary tale depends on one thing, not talent, discipline.